Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. My channel is about marriage. In my case, marriage to a woman from the Philippines. And in a recent TikTok video, the topic of judging others came up. And I said that this is one of the most misunderstood topics in the Bible. So I wanted to show what I meant by going to gotquestions.org. And you're welcome to leave a comment on this and subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I think the Bible should guide our conduct in marriage. So from GodQuestions.org, about what does the Bible mean when it says do not judge, they say, Jesus' command not to judge others could be the most widely quoted of his sayings, even though it is almost invariably quoted in complete disregard of its context. Here is Jesus' statement: do not judge, or you too will be judged. Matthew 7:1. Many people use this verse in an attempt to silence their critics, interpreting Jesus' meaning as, you don't have the right to tell me I'm wrong. Taken in isolation, Jesus' command, do not judge, does indeed seem to preclude all negative assessments. However, there's much more to the passage than just those three words. The Bible's command that we not judge others does not mean we cannot show discernment. Immediately after Jesus says, do not judge, he says, do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. Matthew 7:6. A little later in the same sermon, he says, watch out for false prophets. By their fruit you will recognize them. How are we to discern who are the dogs and pigs and false prophets unless we have the ability to make a judgment call on doctrines and deeds? Jesus is giving us permission to tell right from wrong. Also, the Bible's command that we not judge others does not mean all actions are equally moral or that the truth is relative. The Bible clearly teaches that truth is objective, eternal, and inseparable from God's character. Anything that contradicts the truth is a lie. But of course, to call something a lie is to pass judgment. To call adultery or murder a sin is likewise to pass judgment. But it's also to agree with God. When Jesus said not to judge others, he did not mean that no one can identify sin for what it is based on God's definition of sin. And they say the Bible's command that we not judge others does not mean that there should be no mechanism for dealing with sin. The Bible has a whole book entitled Judges, and the judges in the Old Testament were raised up by God himself. And the modern judicial system, including its judges, is a necessary part of society. In saying do not judge, Jesus was not saying anything goes. Elsewhere, Jesus gives a direct command to judge. Stop judging by mere appearances, but instead judge correctly. John 7:24. Here we have a clue as to the right type of judgment versus the wrong type. And I need to delete that. Sorry about that. I was getting a phone call there. And it says superficial judgment, for example, is wrong. Passing judgment on someone based solely on appearance is sinful. John 7:24. It is foolish to jump to conclusions before investigating the facts. Simon the Pharisee passed judgment on a woman based on her appearance and reputation, but he could not see that the woman had been forgiven. Simon thus drew Jesus' rebuke for his unrighteous judgment in Luke 7. Hypocritical judgment, that's also wrong. Jesus' command not to judge others in Matthew 7:1 is preceded by comparisons to hypocrites, Matthew 6:2 and 5 and 16, and followed by a warning against hypocrisy. When we point out the sin of others while we ourselves commit the same sin, we condemn ourselves. Romans 2, verse 1. Harsh, unforgiving judgment, that's wrong too. We are always to be gentle toward everyone, Titus 3:2. It is the merciful who will be shown mercy. And as Jesus warned, in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Matthew 7:2. Then there's self-righteous judgment, that's wrong. We are called to humility. The Bible says that God opposes the proud. The list untrue judgment is wrong. The Bible clearly forbids bearing false witness, and it says slander no one. So Christians here, according to gotquestions.org, are often accused of judging or intolerance when they speak out against sin. But opposing sin is not wrong. Holding aloft the standard of righteousness naturally defines unrighteousness and draws the slings and arrows of those who choose sin over godliness. John the Baptist incurred the ire of Herodias when he spoke out against her adultery with Herod, and then she eventually silenced John, but she could not silence the truth. So in summation, believers are warned against judging others unfairly or unrighteously, but Jesus commends right judgment. John 7:24. We are to be discerning, and it lists a couple of verses there. We are to preach the whole counsel of God, including the Bible's teaching on sin. We are to gently confront others, erring brothers and sisters in Christ, it says, and we are to practice church discipline. That's Matthew 18. We are to speak the truth in love, Ephesians 4:15. So I hope that helps with this idea of not judging others, because it is one of those verses or ideas that is terribly misused and abused. So you might have to listen to this twice, and on YouTube, if I remember, I can put the link in there where this comes from, gotquestions.org. And many good questions in there that you can be answered. I have faith in their answers. I haven't seen anything I really have a big heartburn with. So consider gotquestions.org. And that's the topic today. Leave a comment, if you will, on judging here on Love Beyond the Sea.